everybody, this is Hannah. I'm doing a book review today on the book Travellers, the Nell Bentley book #1 by V.S. Holmes. Here it is. I don't know if that's flipped it around for you. It's very difficult to tell. So I'm doing this review because I was given this book for free on my Kindle in return for an honest, unbiased review. And I just wanted to let you know, I have actually written up a comprehensive review, which is now published on my website at hannahbala.com. So go check it out. And hopefully it's something that you're going to be interested in. I really enjoyed reading the book Travellers. I felt like it was a really imaginative, unique read. I felt that the characters worked really, really well with each other. So the premise of the book is you meet the first character, the main character, as I should say. The main character is Nell Bentley, who is Nell Bentley, the books, and she is an archaeologist, and she is in a dig in the Chilean wilderness, I think is the best way to say it. And she's on a dig site, and she's actually meant to be teaching students how to dig, how to get diagnostics, record things properly and accurately. She also is doing this alongside one of her oldest friends, who's also a fellow archaeologist, fellow colleague. And I felt like I've not read very many fiction books about archaeology or about any sort of passion or interest in that sense. So it was really interesting as I felt like I learned quite a lot through the book. And V.S. Holmes is actually an archaeologist themselves. That is one of their passions in life, and they're fully qualified, and they do digs around the world, from my understanding. I really like the fact that they were able to bring in their passion into another passion, writing, and I felt that it worked really, really well, and it was so descriptive and so fluid as well, the way they wrote. I felt that it was a very effective way to express their love for archaeology through writing. There's something else that I really liked about the beginning, just simple things. The beginning of the book, you know, we see a few pages of praise at the beginning, but then it moves on to a little image here, which is one of the diagnostics that was found in the book by one of the characters. And I thought, oh, that's lovely. So then we get to see what this actually looked like, and probably the size of what V.S. Holmes thought in their head. And then a few pages on, past the copyright page, there's also a little map, which I thought was absolutely brilliant, of the dig site, of everything that happened there. And I'll hold it up and you can see. I hope that's clear. But either way, it's in the book itself, at the front of the book. So if you would go buy a copy, there are copies on Amazon. You can buy it on Kindle, you can buy it paperback as well. You can buy it directly from their website, which I've linked on my... Oh, don't know what happened there. Which I've linked on my website, hannahbala.com. So with that, I shall continue. So the premise of the book is it's about an archaeologist who basically is trying to find interesting things that she can study, and she's teaching these students to be able to do the same and learn more about the craft of archaeology. But there's a really cool underpinned story, which could actually be a whole story on its own, and we find out very early on the first page, in fact, that the underpinning story is that the locals in the area don't want these group of scientists and archaeologists to disturb their land, because it's... I wasn't sure if it was coming across as it was sacred land or it was just their land. So I felt that I wrote about this in my review as well, more comprehensive than what I'm verbalising now. And I felt that was really interesting, because we don't actually think about the impact that science in geography, science in archaeology, or anything, or even paleontology, can affect local people in local areas. You know, it was made clear that Nell Bentley always hired people if she was going to hire people and gave them a good wage rather than scrimping and saving a lot of modern scientists and archaeologists do at the moment. And I felt that was a really interesting message to get across, that she's quite an ethical writer, quite an ethical person themselves, them. So with that, I continued and I really... Hi Fusion, thanks for joining. Just so you know, I'm situated in the UK, at home in the UK. So with this book, I think initially it didn't come across as a sci-fi book. Initially it came off as just a really nice piece of fiction about archaeology, and there's a bit of a mystery going on. But then as the book progresses, spoiler alert, her best friend, Nell Bentley's best friend, gets killed by the people who are threatening them to leave the dig site, to leave their land alone. So this threat becomes very, very real. And I like the way that was communicated, because as I said before, we don't see the ethical side of things. We don't see, the impact on how it's going to impact others in the environment of the story, and it made the world building really, really consistent. Oh, India, wow, that's amazing. I've never been to India. But this book was actually set in, I think, Chile, from what I understand from my read. I've never been to Chile. I don't know what it's like, but there's lots of description throughout the book of Nell feeling almost suffocated by the heat. And I felt that Holmes did a really good job in communicating that it was an awkward environment to work in, especially when you're outside on your hands and knees digging in archaeology. And I felt that it was communicated well to me, because when I'm in a hot land, like Spain is the hottest that I've ever been, unfortunately. Actually, no, I did go to Morocco, but I don't remember much about Morocco, which I guess would be a similar... I don't know, would it be a similar climate? Let me know what you think in the comments, whether you think it would be a similar climate or not, because I don't know, because I've never been to Chile. Anyway, so Nell and her colleague make a discovery of this really unusual pink rock, and then they get threatened, their lives get threatened. But then the following day, when her colleague stays behind after work and is tidying up and packing everything away, spoiler alert, he's killed. So with that, Nell is brought across as a very almost combative individual. She's very, maybe a little aggressive. She's very strong, but she does think that to be strong, she has to be mean and a bit tough. She's very, very tough. She's got a lot of armour, and she doesn't show her feelings to anybody apart from her best friend Mikey. So when he gets killed, it really affects her in a negative way, and she starts drinking more, and she starts going down this little spiral. But we do just see the beginning of it, and then another character comes into play, and this is Lynn. Now Lynn is it was in Disciples, which is the book that prequels Travellers, and it's number 0 in the series, which I thought was really cool. It is a short story, Disciples, and I did a review about that before, so go check that out on my Instagram, and you can check out the written review that I've done on my website, hannahballa.com. So Lynn comes along, and Lynn is trying to get Nell to buckle up her ideas and say, what are you doing? Unbeknownst to Nell, that Lynn has been monitoring her because she is from outer space, which is very kind of alien, but it's also not at the same time, because Lynn is just an advanced human being, I think, from what I understood. She's an advanced human being that lives in the space station orbiting Earth. And not many people know about this space station. It's very Star Trek-y. It's very utopian. The Disciples book was very utopian, and I thought that was quite cool. Especially when now we're combining we're contrasting the utopian life with this gritty, grimy, earthy life in this book, in Travellers. Um, I really liked that contrast. I thought it was done really well, and Lynn, it was always brought across as very prim and proper and held herself very well. Um, so I think that later on in the story, it was done really, really well. Nell and Lynn become quite close in their work, and Lynn's trying to support Nell in her work as well, and trying to find out more about what's been happening with the founders, and Lynn's trying to almost solve the mystery, I guess you could say. That's without spoiling it too much. And there is an intimate scene between Nell and Lynn, and I felt it was done really well. I read a review where V.S. Holmes actually got a bit battered for this because that particular reader wanted a lot of intimate details and they wanted it drawn out over a longer period of time. And I'm actually quite glad that it wasn't, because when it comes to intimate, steamy scenes, sex scenes, things like that, I feel that you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to become 50 Shades of Smut. So you want to be able to do it in a tasteful way that accentuates what has happened, how they feel about each other, and be caught up in the moment as well. And I did feel very caught up in the moment. I was like, oh gosh, that was really intimate. That was really good to see. And also, Nell needed that. Nell needed that closeness. She needed to feel needed, because she'd been in this desert almost for 3 years, digging on her own and with Mikey, her best friend. And she felt so isolated. So having someone there to relieve that tension, to relieve her, was actually, I thought, quite appropriate and very realistic. Like, I can't even imagine for myself, but if you put yourself where you're isolated for 3 years, just doing your work, where your life is your work, you would become really irritable, you would become really combative, you would become very standoffish with people. And Lynn manages to break through that armour, and she manages to get to see the actual core of Nell. But then lots of drama happens, and I don't want to tell you the ending because I don't want to spoil it for you. I've already given you loads of spoilers, so I won't tell you the ending, but I thought the ending was cool. I'm not normally into sci-fi books, but this one, I felt that this one was quite imaginative, quite unique. I think V.S. Holmes was worried that it would have too much similarity to, what's it called? Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, the Legend of the Crystal Skull. But it was different in the sense that it was different archaeology. It was a totally different mystery. It was very different characters. You have this romanticized idea of Indiana Jones, whereas Nell, she was quite real and quite gritty. And I felt that I really connected with her. I really liked her as a character. I thought, oh man, she's really grumpy, but I love her. I thought she was great. She was just a really strong character, and then she shows emotion halfway through the book, and it gave her character more depth, which I thought, yes, that's right, because that would happen in real life. You would have a nervous breakdown or a mental breakdown if you lost your best friend, especially while you're working. And yeah, it was just a really enjoyable read. I read it, I'm just trying to think, in like 4 hours, maybe less. Really, really easy read as well. At the back of the book, I appreciated a glossary of archaeology terms, because V.S. Holmes is an archaeologist. They put in a glossary at the back, and basically explained all the words and all the phrases that I wouldn't know as a reader, and that you guys probably wouldn't know unless you're into archaeology or geology. There were some really interesting facts as well. So you learnt about archaeology as a craft. You learnt why they're looking for diagnostics, why they're digging, what sort of things they're looking within the soil, which again made it just feel really, really real. And bringing a real aspect into a book is quite hard. It's very easy to make up a story, I find, but to make it feel grounded in reality, that's hard. Not very many authors have managed to do that, but I felt that V.S. Holmes did that quite well. Overall, on my website, I gave V.S. Holmes' story, Travellers, this is Travellers, a 9 out of 10. And I'm happy to give it 4 out of 5 on Instagram as well. I feel that whether you're into history, I think as well, if you're into the more practical sort of fiction like geology and archaeology and even paleontology as well. I'm just trying to think of all the ologies. No, I'm joking. I feel that you would really connect with this book because it's got a little bit of romance, it's got a little bit of drama, it's got a little bit of action, and it's got a bit of psychological fear just underpinning. I felt that Nell, because she'd been in this environment for so long, she wasn't taking these threats seriously to her life, these threats of these people saying that we're going to hurt you if you keep digging. And so she was very blasé about it, and I was like, if that was me, I'd be freaking out on the first one, but because it's been happening for her for so long, or I imagined it would be happening for so long, she just kind of was like, yeah, well, it wasn't until a dead mouse was put in her food, that tipped her over, and to be fair, before then it would have been people vandalising my dig site that would push me over the limit, because trying to clean all that up and then make diagnostics would be an absolute nightmare. But no, for Nell, the line was a dead mouse in her food, and she was like, they've planted it here, and she's swearing and she's losing her mind because someone's trying to poison her effectively. And you would go absolutely spare if you found a dead mouse wrapped up in a bandage in your food. I mean, that's just disgusting. So the description of that was really good. I really like that. So yeah, if you're a sci-fi lover and you prefer books that are very much space-based, I feel that this is going to move on into being based in space. Rhyming, man. In regards to the rest of the series, I haven't yet started the rest of the series, but I'm going to be buying the rest of them because I really felt like I connected with this story, and I felt like you guys would too. Normally, my genre, just so you all know, I prefer reading thrillers, horrors, and fantasy. Those are my 3 main. And I didn't realise how much I could get into sci-fi. But sci-fi is just the opposite of fantasy, really, if you think about it. It's just it's rather than it being a historical, which most fantasy is, let's face it, is a historical sort of theme. Sci-fi is very much futuristic, set in the future. And I like sci-fi films and movies and series like Star Trek, Star Wars, things like that. So I guess it kind of went really nicely hand in hand, and I was making comparisons between this and Star Trek and saying, oh, this is quite interesting. I felt like V.S. Holmes was inspired a lot by other pieces of work, whether it be films or other books. And I felt that they really conveyed their passion beautifully through this book. So that is my book review. I'll leave it there, because obviously if I keep talking about it, I'm just going to ruin it for everybody. So go check it out. V.S. Holmes has got a website, and I've pinned it onto my website, hannahballa.com, and you can go and have a look at it there. And you can have a look at the comprehensive review that I've done there as well. I've given lots of references. I've done a section about the author, which is new, that I've been doing recently. And it would be really, really good if you could let me know your thoughts. Tell me what kind of content you would like to see, what sort of books you'd like me to read, what sort of books you'd like me to review. But again, go buy Disciples, Travellers. I think you'll really, really enjoy them because they're really immersive, and it's a series. And I think is it a 3-part? I can't remember. I wrote it down earlier. I think it's a 3 or 4 part book. But go check out VS Holmes' website. It's a beautiful website. They've done a fantastic job. And I think that you'll really enjoy the world. And they're not only just doing these books, they are writing more books as well, which you'll find updates for on their website, vshomes.com, I think it is. But again, go look on my website because I've actually written it down there. And yeah, thank you very much for watching me babble on. I really appreciate it. And hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe, everybody. Make sure you wear a mask and socially distance, no matter where you are in the world, because I wouldn't want anybody to, put themselves in danger or anything. So just be respectful to each other, be kind to each other, and have a lovely weekend. Thanks very much. Bye.